Hey everybody, we are back to the Rob and Mike show. We are honored to have as our guest Katherine Ream, who is the Executive Director of ARC. And what is ARC?
So the ARC of Erie County is a nonprofit organization that works with men, women, and children with intellectual disabilities. So anybody with an intellectual disability or autism can call our office. And if they're looking for advocacy on behalf of their son or daughter who has an IEP or 504, or they need help with their insurance company, or they need help trying to get onto a Medicaid-funded waiver, they can come to us and we can help with them with a variety of resources to get them to where they need to be.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you do a lot of in-school. Do you go into the schools a lot and sit in on IEPs?
We do have the ability to do that. When a parent calls us who has a child with an IEP or 504, and they say it's just not working, the school's not doing what they need to do for my son or daughter, we come to the table very collaboratively. So we want to be able to work with the school and the parent on each side, and we want to bring them to the middle to be able to get the student what they need to be able to learn as best they can learn and get them to wherever their goal is.
That's good. That's really good to know, because we on occasion will get calls for you, and it's a parent who is saying, hey, listen, what you just said, we're not getting what we need. And it's good to know that there are places in Erie that can assist with that. So even though as a former teacher, I don't know much about IEPs, and you know, I never really did that portion of education. But it'd be great to be able to call on you and say, we got this situation, how can you help? Or how can we collaborate together?
Yes, just a couple of days ago, I had a mediation hearing. So there was a student who had a 504, and his parents wanted him to have an IEP, and the school said no, he's got a 504. And the school said, this is not working for us, we want a mediation. So I was part of the mediation hearing, which I had never done before. So that was a really cool experience. And again, the school district came together and the parents came together, and we all just talked about what the parents felt they needed for their son, and just kind of got the ball rolling that way.
And that had to be a perfect situation, because how many times, when you think about school versus parent or versus child, or however you want to say it, how many times that is an angry situation?
Oh, sure.
And for you to say, I appreciate what you just said, where you said, you know, we just talked. And that's sometimes, that's a much better option, is talk things out. What we all have to look at it, my opinion, is what's in the best interest of the child.
Right,
Exactly.
and the parent.
Sometimes that gets lost.
Right, and when the parent is coming to us, they have their son or daughter's best interest in mind. And the school, of course, you know, teachers go to school to become teachers because they want to educate students, and they want to be part of, you know, making sure kids are growing up and being the best people that they can be. But what happens sometimes is friction happens, and each side dig their heels in, and nobody wants to cross the center line. And when you have an advocate come in, sometimes we're able to smooth the waters over and say, well, would you give a little and you give a little, and let's come to the middle.
Sure.
Just collaborate.
For those of you, for those listeners who may not know what an IEP or a 504 is, what are those?
So an IEP is an individual education plan, and it has very specific information in it to make sure that the student is getting exactly what they need.
Okay.
And it has to be followed to the letter once it is written by the school. A 504 is a similar plan, it's just not as involved as an IEP is.
Okay.
So some students can get by with a 504. Some students with more significant disabilities or more significant needs need a full-blown individual education plan that is part of their school record.
Okay, now this, I'm sorry.
One quick question. I'm not sure if you know the answer to this question. Do either of those transfer to college if the student goes to college? I know an IEP doesn't.
Well, I think in some cases an IEP, you can go to the college and say, my son or daughter had an IEP when they were in high school. Are there some accommodations that you can make? So I think, I'm not sure that if the IEP transfers, but if you go to the school and talk with the guidance department, your advisor, and say, I just need some accommodations, most schools are more than willing to do that.
Good. Do you have any affiliation with Mission and Power? and Jill Verinda Patton.
So I'm very familiar with Mission and Power, and we do a lot of collaboration at the Arc of Erie County. So we love to collaborate with other organizations. So as you can see, I'm wearing my Special Olympics Polar Plunge T-shirt today.
All right.
Because it's a little cooler today outside than it was yesterday.
Polar Plunge works perfectly on that.
There you go.
Polar Plunge. So we collaborate a lot with Special Olympics. We collaborate with the IU. We'd be happy to collaborate with Mission and Power. I know exactly who they are, and they do really good work.
Yes, they do.
Really good work.
The things you were talking about sounds kind of like what Jill does.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, very similar.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to say this now, we can say it again at the end, but you were talking about Special Olympics, Polar Plunge, one of their big fundraisers.
Yes.
I know you guys at the ARC have a big fundraiser coming up in September.
We do.
I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Sure.
Great
So
event.
September 10th from 1 to 4, we have our annual buddy walk. And last year we had over 300 people come and support our mission of helping people with intellectual disabilities get connected to where they need to be connected. And it's really also, more than anything, a day to celebrate people with intellectual disabilities. So many times in our community, all people with disabilities are not celebrated, and everybody has gifts and talents that they bring to the table, whether they have a disability or not. And the Buddy Walk is a way to bring families together, to meet each other, and to support each other. And again, as I said, to celebrate people with disabilities.
Right. So I mean, it is a major fundraiser.
It is.
But it's also, sometimes you have to do, you bring two things together, either a celebration and a fundraiser. Now, where is that?
So the walk is going to be held at Erie Sports Park on Oliver Road from 1 to 4 on Sunday, September the 10th. And we're still working out all of the details for the day, but we're looking at trying to bring in some talent. We're looking at maybe having some cheerleaders come.
Wow, cheerleaders.
Yeah, cheerleaders.
The Dallas Cowboys?
Not the Dallas
Taking
Cowboys. How about the McDowell Trojans?
Come
My
on,
niece is
Catherine.
one of the now Trojan cheerleaders. You have to say something.
Okay.
Now, that's the former Family First Sports Park, right?
It is.
Okay, I
It
thought
is,
so.
yes, and they've done so much great stuff up there. They've got go-karts, they've got
Oh,
batting cages, they've got mini golf. They have so many.
Yeah, they do so much stuff up there. I mean, I remember we had, not to go off the track, but we had a wheelchair basketball conference tournament up there. And it was fantastic. I mean, the exposure we got for the sport was incredible.
Oh,
Yeah.
great. Yeah, they do a lot of great stuff up there. Yeah, it's a nice facility. They've really done a
That's
lot
awesome.
up
So
there.
it sounds like you guys, they do a lot, it sounds like you do a lot. I was talking around before you got here. I said something about the passion that Katherine brings to everything that she does. So there's one other thing that you are a major part of. Before I even get to that, Katherine is also major, the head person in charge, or a couple of networking groups in town here. Niagara Network, which I've been involved in for the last 8 years, and the PA Link, which you really run that because Kathy does that down in Meadville. But you're major in terms of getting that stuff organized and going. I don't know if you want to talk. That's not one of your jobs. That's just kind of one of the extras that you do. I know you do a much better job of explaining what that is than I do. I know what it is, but you have the spiel.
Sure. So Niagara Network is a networking group that's been around for about, I want to say, 15, 16 years. It was in existence before I joined, but it's really a group of about 50 nonprofits, mostly from Erie County, that come together once a month. And we have a guest speaker every month. And the reason that we come together is you can't know everything. There's so many different resources out there for so many different things, and you just can't know all the information. So typically what happens is somebody in the group during every single meeting has something that they need help with. And I guarantee you can look around that room and somebody will say, I have a resource for that.
Right.
I have a resource
I was
for that.
saying to Rob, I've gotten calls here. I'm like, I don't know how I can help you. I know somebody who can.
Well, they do that.
You do that transfer right to that, and I'll usually contact
sure.
that person and say, hey, I got this call today. What do you think? Send it to me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's
it's a great resource. It doesn't cost anything. We don't charge anything to be part of our group, which is very unusual for a networking group.
That is
Typically,
very
there are fees that you have
Yes.
to pay, dues that you have to pay every year. All we ask is that you attend the meetings on a regular basis. Some of our past speakers, our speaker this month was Blind and Vision Sports, which is a program that works with people, young people who have a visual impairment of some sort, and they want to be able to play sports. And they had a big blind sports event up at Barron this week at camp, and the guy, Ben Friday, who came to talk to us, actually brought an athlete.
Wow,
who was almost completely blind. He can see shadows but not faces, and as the day goes on and the day gets darker, he loses all vision altogether. But he is a skier, so you can be completely blind and learn how to ski.
Just with cues, yeah.
Just with cues.
The way they were talking about it, I was like, I mean, before I had my accident, I couldn't ski to save my life.
I couldn't
Go to the
either.
top of the hill and straight down, and I had to crash at the bottom.
That's how I was. I was scared to death skiing, and I had normal vision. I'm like, what? But I've heard of blind skiing, definitely. And these guys are they're incredible because I'm a Paralympian.
Okay.
So I've heard about all these different organizations and stuff. And some of the things that these guys do, rock climbing and all kinds of stuff. Wow.
That's part of independence.
Well, that's right.
Independent living and ability to have the risk to take on risks.
That's right.
Which is huge because a lot of people want to look at people with disabilities and
wrap us in cocoons.
Yes.
Yeah.
As they put a force field around us and say, you can't do that. You might get hurt. Well, you might get hurt. I mean,
and the tragedy is that a lot of people with disabilities buy into that. And they think, well, I don't really have to achieve as much because society doesn't expect as much.
Right.
So, and it's tragic.
Right.
Really
well, we definitely need more people and more programs like the Envision Blind Sports because people with disabilities are just like the rest of us. They just happen to have a disability.
That's right.
I mean, that's all there is to it. We're all just people. We're all born as a person. Some of us are born with a disability, and some of us acquire a disability later in life. But all of us are going to face disability sooner or later through the aging process, every single one of us. So we all need to get comfortable with it, all of us.
So those are just a couple things that you do. One of I think the one place where I met you, the thing you were doing when we met was through another organization called the Achieva Family Trust. I'm not going to try to explain what your title is there, so I'm going to let you do that. Sure. And maybe tell us a little bit about that. Achieva holds a special place in my heart because of some of the things that they've helped me with. I'll talk about that too.
Sure. So I also, in addition to being the executive director of the Arcadia County, have the title of Regional Trust Liaison for Achieva Family Trust. So Achieva is a big nonprofit in Pittsburgh, and underneath their umbrella are 6 smaller affiliates. One of them is the Family Trust, and one of them is the Arcadia County. So everybody that I work with in both roles have a disability. And through the Family Trust, everybody that I work with also has a special needs trust. And what Mike was referring to is we have a grant program at Achieva. Anybody with a disability across the state of Pennsylvania who needs a piece of assistive technology or needs something that they can't afford to get, that they can't get through covered insurance, can come to us, they can apply and get something that they need. So through that program, we pay for things like hearing aids, vehicle modifications, home modifications, durable medical equipment, batteries. We can pay for
power wheelchairs.
If somebody needs a power wheelchair and they don't have insurance coverage and they can't get it a different way, that is absolutely something that somebody could apply to get through that program.
And I'll give an example. I on my car, I have it's called a chair topper, and it opens up, chain lowers, lifts up my chair, stows it away for when I'm driving, so I don't have to worry about leaning my seat back, dragging the chair in and out, and getting my clothes all torn up. My car gets that's happened. It gets beaten up on the inside. And I approached Katherine and I said, is getting a new one of these something that's a possibility? And she said, absolutely. And it's amazing how there are so many organizations out there that make you jump through hoops and all the red tape. And I think other than that, what's the one form we had to do? The joinder.
The joinder.
Other than that, which was not time consuming, but you have to make sure every T is crossed and I is dotted. It was approved within a week.
Pretty quickly.
Wow. So a lot of places, insurance, sometimes you work with for months to get something. But I was telling Rob before we came on here today that I had my 15 minutes of fame when they put me on the billboard.
Oh, yes.
So.
Yeah, he's a shameless, I can't even say it. Media hound. I don't know.
You got that right. You got that right. But what like Katherine was saying, when you're talking about things that might not be covered by insurance, that is the chair topper is considered by insurance to be a non-medical necessity. I'm sorry, it's not Well, yeah,
a luxury
it's a
item.
luxury.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, I worded that poorly. They cover things that are medically necessary, and that is not. I can drive without it. That just makes life easier.
Well, a shower chair is considered a luxury item by
Really?
insurance. Oh, yeah. I found this out the hard way. I was like, really? I mean,
Wow.
I didn't know.
and I wanted to, before I forget, I want to ask, not everybody gets everything they need. I mean, where's the cutoff? When do they say, well, no, we can't buy this for someone?
Are you talking about for a grant program?
Yeah.
So part of the application process is a letter from a professional. So
Okay.
many of the people that come to us have a supports coordinator or a case manager or a service coordinator. And that person needs to work with the person who's asking for the grant to write a letter that
Okay.
explains why the person needs whatever it is they need. And in my mind, the letter is the most important piece of the application, because the letter and the application gets reviewed by a team of executives at Achieva, and those people have never met the person who's applying.
Right.
So you have to really paint a picture for what the person is asking for.
Okay,
And the
right.
best way to do that is through the letter. So to answer your question, it really depends. Sometimes we're able to give some folks more money depending on what the situation is. Other folks get less money. It really just depends on what's being requested and what other supports are available to the person.
Now, what effect, if any, did COVID have on Achieva Family Trust?
For the grant program,
Right.
it had a pretty big impact, because
Okay.
a lot of the stuff that people ask for are things like tablets and iPads. And with the supply chain issue,
Okay.
it came to a screeching halt. In
That's
fact,
what I was thinking,
In
yeah.
fact, we're still sort of in recovery mode of getting people the things that they were approved for because of the virus. I mean, the virus just wreaked havoc on every aspect
Everything.
of everyone's
no-
life.
no
period.
question.
Everything about society, yeah,
Yeah.
it crushed us pretty good. So
Yeah.
hopefully we're coming, and I know we're coming out of it, and the public health emergency has ended, but
Well, that's just created more.
we're still feeling the effects.
In my mind, that's really created, coming out of it, it's created a lot of issues with people who are on Medicaid and people who for 3 years didn't have to do anything. They
Mhm.
just got Medicaid and they got extra SNAP benefits and they didn't have to do anything.
Yep.
And now the time has
Right.
come where you have to produce proof that you
Yep.
are in
There's a lot,
need
you're right,
of.
that's one thing that we do here, a lot of advocating on behalf of consumers for here, is
Yes,
getting their Medicaid renewed.
yes.
We've been sending out letters, and I've had hundreds to consumers, don't forget.
Yeah.
And I'm a Compass Community Partner for DHS, so I can actually get in and help people, but they have to know to call me to get the help.
Gotcha.
That's why these letters go out.
And see, I didn't know you did that, Mike. So see, I'm learning something new today. I didn't know that you
Sure, yeah.
did that, so.
That's networking.
Because we're getting calls too. We're getting calls all the time. I need some help with getting my Medicaid back. I need help getting my SNAP benefits. And so sometimes I can give them a resource right away, but now I know that.
Right, I know we're off base here, or off track. We just had a consumer who was an ID consumer who didn't even, his brother's POA, didn't even know what this was, he can't read, just, I tossed it on the file. Lost his benefits, and I worked diligently with the brother to get everything in. I couldn't get it through through Compass, but I worked through the county assistant's office directly. And we got it restored within 3 days.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of getting them what you said. Now you have to produce bank statements or resource statements or doctor's letters. You have to get that stuff and get it to them. Otherwise, here's the problem. A lot of these people that started services during COVID have never seen this before. They didn't know. Rob, you've gotten services for years. You
Right.
know when that letter comes, you need to renew.
Absolutely,
You need to do it.
yeah.
Some of these folks that started during COVID don't know that.
No.
So that's what most of the issues are, I think.
Right. Well, I want to go back just for a second, Mike, to talk a little bit about the link, because I'd be remiss if I didn't mention how wonderful
absolutely.
they are to work with. So Mike was talking a couple minutes ago about being on a billboard. So the Family Trust got some grant money to pay for advertising about what we do at the Family Trust, so that people in the community know who we are. And we decided to take a picture of Mike with his new chair topper, and we used that for our billboard. So that is how this shameless guy over here had his 15 minutes of fame. But we wouldn't have been able to do that had we not received grant funding from the Link for that. And I'm so appreciative to Kathy Freeman and the folks at the Link for all they do to support so many of our organizations. They pay for the computer guy who does our website at Niagara Network. They pay for our brochures. They're just really a wonderful community resource, and Kathy has been wonderful to work with.
Well, it's you were talking about networking, and it's just so critically important, because the more people who know about other people, the less chance there's going to be of someone out there saying, I don't know what to do. I don't know where
it's a way to help people not fall through the cracks.
That's right. Yeah, it's a database, basically.
Right. And people fall through the cracks all the time.
Sure they do.
And that's the beauty of, having connections to other professionals who work in the disability field, is sometimes people might call me and I might say, oh gosh, I've been working in human services my entire adult career, and I have a lot of resources in my head and at my fingertips, but sometimes people call and I'm like, oh boy, I've got nothing for that.
Yeah.
Let me call somebody and I'll get back to you.
That's the key.
Somebody will know
else
somebody
else.
who knows somebody.
Yes.
Yeah, you'll get the answer.
Yes, and through this vast network that we've created with Niagara Network, we can just email each other and say, do you know of anything that might be able to help this person? Do you know a resource? And 99.9% of the time, somebody comes through and says, oh, I've got information for you.
Right.
It just happened yesterday. Kathy Freeman emailed. Someone needed something, and she emailed, and within 5 minutes, 4 or 5 people said, oh, you go to this place, or go to this place, or try this place. And
That's awesome.
you can't put a price on that.
You can't.
It's priceless.
And the nice thing is it makes everybody's job a little bit easier.
Right.
Absolutely.
Knowledge is power.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes, and people are getting what they need, and they're going to remember that you helped them.
Mm-hmm.
So it might not just be a one-time phone call. They might call you back and say, listen, I haven't talked to you for a couple of years, but you helped me before. Can you help me now?
Hey, that's what Achieve a Family Trust did for me.
Yes.
I came right back to her. I said, you helped me before. I need some help now.
Yes.
That's something else.
We've helped Mike a couple of times. And the other thing about our charitable residual grant program is people can apply every 2 years. So it's not just a one and done. If you apply for something and you get it, you can come back in 2 years and get something else.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. Yeah, how often you can approach
And
this.
I don't want people to think that you're just going to get things to stockpile them.
No.
If you really truly need something that you can't get funded in any other way,
Right.
that's when you want to approach.
Yeah, they're not Santa Claus.
Right.
Just,
Hey,
yeah.
my 2 years is up. I better get something.
Well, that's right.
You don't want
Yeah,
people
definitely.
looking at it that way either. So real quick, last thing, and I'm saying last thing, we could talk all day. I just don't want anybody out there to look at this for 3 hours.
Yeah.
So Achieve a Family Trust is more than a residual grant program.
It is.
What is there anything else in particular? I know you help people with disabilities with getting, like, how about able accounts? Do you do stuff to help people with that?
Absolutely. So the other thing that I do with the Shiva Family Trust is when somebody, a parent or grandparent wants to remember their son or daughter or grandson or granddaughter in their future planning, they go to their attorney and they say, oh, hey, I'd like to leave some money to my grandson or granddaughter or son or daughter with a disability. And many, many, many years ago, attorneys used to say, oh, you can't do that because that will put them over the income limit, so just leave them completely out of the plan. Well, we're going to leave that up to their brothers or sisters to kind of do the right thing. Well, sometimes brother or sister didn't always do the right thing. So that's when special needs trusts were created. And really, the easiest way to think about it is a special needs trust is a workaround. It's a way for people to have access to money. They don't have direct access to it. We can never send people money. We can never send them cash or checks, but we can pay for things on their behalf through a special needs trust. So we work with 3 different types of trusts. Third party, which means it's someone else's money, a parent and grandparent setting up a special needs trust for a family member, and you need an attorney to do that. A payback trust, which is for people who are on Medicaid and somehow they come into money somehow. They could win money from the lottery. They could have sought litigation and they're getting a large sum of money. And then there's something called a pooled trust, which you don't need an attorney for, and you can just fill out paperwork through our organization called a joinder. And the biggest difference between those 3 trusts is that With the pool trust, when you pass away, you agree that any money that's left stays with Achieva, and we put that money into our grant program. And that's where those grant funds come from.
Okay. If somebody wants to learn more about Achieva and the grant program, what's the easiest way for them to get a hold of someone? By phone or by email or?
So they could phone me, they could email me, or they can always go to our Achieva website, which all of the information about all of our affiliates is on our website.
Okay.
So that if they just go to their search engine and they type in www.achieva.info, our website comes right up and you can learn all kinds of great information about all the good work that we're doing in the community.
Okay.
And under the Achieva, real quick, under the Achieva website, will you find a link to the ARC?
You will.
Okay.
I was just going to ask what the website was.
Yeah, I had a feeling it was,
Okay.
because you said they're affiliate, I thought they might be
Yes.
on there,
So all of the affiliates, so there's Achieva Resources, Achieva Supports, the ARC of Greater Pittsburgh, the Family Trust, Autism Connections, and now our most recent affiliation is the ARC of Erie County. All of information on all of those affiliates can be found on the Achieva website.
All right, fantastic.
That's great information. I feel it's real fast, but it's so much. I mean,
Well,
for an hour probably.
I learned a lot. I had no idea.
Right.
That.
And if you didn't know, I only know because I've known Catherine now for the last 8-10 years. Actually, I had Catherine's daughter in school back in 2001, I think.
And
Wow.
she will be 30. She will be 36.
I had no idea Mike was that old.
I
No
didn't.
kidding.
Wow.
Look at this. Look at gray hairs coming in.
I will never forget when the first time I met Mike, I went to my daughter's parent teacher. It was like not a conference, but it was like a parent night at the beginning of the school year. And you could go to your students' classrooms and meet their teachers. And I walked in, and there was Mike. Like, I didn't know him before, and he was a person who used a wheelchair as a teacher. And I was like, oh my God, a teacher with a disability. I was super excited. I was super excited. And, then Mike left teaching, after that. And
both rewarding careers. And most of the gray hair is from teaching.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah.
I'm sure Kitty gave me one or two.
I'm sure. Listen, all this gray that you see right now, that's all for sure.
Well, Mike is on the short list for being the next host of Wheel of Fortune.
Oh, what?
Yes.
Wait, I thought that was Ryan's secret.
Well, that's.
Maybe, okay,
You
maybe that
beat me.
was
I
just.
think you beat me.
Oh, okay. Well, listen, let me give everybody my phone number because I want people to know that they can call me if they have a question or they don't have a computer and they want to talk to me directly. My phone number is 814-504-5556. And my email is KREIM@ACHIEVA.info. I'd be happy to chat with you about any questions you have around the ARC of Erie County or Achieva Family Trust.
Outstanding. Well, thank you so much. This was
You're
awesome.
welcome.
Like Rob said, so much great information.
Yes.
I mean, and like you said, you didn't know. We're guessing that people who are going to watch this didn't know either. So.
Thank you,
You're
Catherine.
welcome. Thank you for having me. I really
And thank you
appreciate
for
it.
listening, folks.
And don't forget, last time we say it one more time, don't forget September 10th, Buddy Walk.
1
Erie
to
Sports
4.
Park.
Erie
All
Sports
right.
Park. Come on out, and you can find information about that on the Achieva website. So
Perfect.
Be there or be square.
hope to see
All
some
right.
of you there.
All right. He's Rob.
He's Mike. And
See you
we will
next
see you
month.
guys next month. Bye-bye.
Super slow.